Yes, to disclose, I think is relevant for this talk, my disclosure about this SSF surgery. And there's a continuous effort from the mechanical engineers to achieve a higher and more extreme precision and accuracy through robotics. And we all know that spine surgeries are growing and growing fast. There are many pathologies that we use more often to fix, fuse, to stabilize fractures, in ASDs and degenerative disease, and vertebral fusion is on the rise. And of course, some of these screws that we put, between 6 and 15% are mislocated, hairy 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, and 4. Luckily, of this number of screws which are mislocated, only 1 or 2% requires further surgery. But those others are not doing the job properly, biomechanically. Why? So this may lead to future complications from the point of view of the fusion. So that's why we need to be as accurate as we can when we put the screws in. These are data from the US, and I heard that 1% of American population has had an operation on the back. The second country in the world, I think, is Sweden, with 0.4. So there's a lot of increasing operations in spine. Is growing to a rate of about 30% per year, and so is robotic surgery assisted, which is growing at a rate of annual growth of 20%. These are the robots that are currently at the market, about 9 or 10 of these robots, which have in common two things. They use optical tracking systems to work and to operate, and also they're used basically or uniquely to put pedicle screws. But there's new technique coming. As I said, mechanical engineers are trying to find a way of being more accurate. And one of the innovative innovative technologies consists in the tracking system. And they're converting optical to mechanical. What is the advantage of mechanical? Well, the advantage is a high accuracy than optical, about 6 times more accurate. It's got a higher control of the loop frequency, and also is not affected by occlusions, which the others are. This is the robot components, and you can see it looks a bit bulky. You will see probably tomorrow in the lunch seminar that there is, but it all fits nicely within, and the arm, which is the most sensitive part of the robot, is well protected inside. You can keep it anywhere, and it's very unlikely you will damage it if you leave it somewhere in the theater. So how's the workload? Well, you can have a preoperative CT scan, which you will be able to put into the robot, and you will be able to do a surgical planning. Or intraoperative. Once you've done that, you will use intraoperative CT scans, those who have them, but it's very available, the fluoroscopy that you can do, a 2 or 3D image through fluoroscopy, and then you use with the with this device here, you put it onto the spine, and then you put the marker, and once you take the picture, this goes straight into the robot, which will be able to fuse with CT scan or even with an MRI. This is a surgical instrumental kit, which is very few, only 40 instruments, which you use most of. With 3 or 4, you can do most of the pedicle screws insertion. And this is the positioning, which is very easy to move. It's a very bulky arm, but it's very, very easy to move it and to put it into location. You can see this lady trying to put the mechanical tracking system onto the spine, onto the device. And one of the beauties that this robot has is the error display. So the robot is fixed with the pedicle trajectory. So if for any reason the pedicle trajectory doesn't match the robot positioning, then it will show you this green, yellow, and red light. And in yellow and red light, you will not be able to perform do the screw insertion. So this is an extra bit of security for this device. Let me show you a little video which gives you an idea of how the workflow, and you can see segmentation of the vertebrae, very easy and very straightforward. This is only a 2 minutes video, which in a way means or marks what you can really do. You can put the screws, the pedicle screws, and also by moving the screws positioning and insertion, you can bend the rod, and you will be able to see if the rod is not going to be aligned properly or not. You can see here, you move the screw here, and you see the rod can move. So you can ultimately make sure that the rod will sit perfectly well by deciding the entry points of all these screws. So as I said, 6 times more accurate, this system, to compare to the optical system. And this is one of the beauties of this. You can see how this, you move, if the patient moves during the operation, the robot moves with the patient because it's strictly attached to this. You cannot do this with optical tracking system devices. And this is one of the cadaver specimens we got and we tried. This is a scoliosis, and we managed to pull all the screws at the first go with no, with all considered hairy one screws, very well placed. But what's next? Can we spend so much money in a device that is going to cost you so much only to put screws? We can put them freehand. We can put them with navigation. This is cheaper. Spending robotic technology for that maybe is not acceptable, particularly if you have the money. But we're looking forward for the next generation and what we can do. What 2 things we can do: bone resection, milling and drilling of the bone, with soft tissue preservation, and also computer-assisted decision, artificial intelligence, and machine learning for both the screw placement and also for sagittal balance calculation. So how do you bone milling? What you do exactly, this is an example of how we do with radiosurgery. We map the area we want to drill. Of course, this is anterior. This is not going to be acceptable for the moment, but particularly posterior, you'll be able to do drillings from the facet joints. You can do complete posterior osteotomies, and you can also match this with through the tubes. And this is the next step that we are working on. You can see in this video, but more particularly now, this is marking the area we want to drill, and then the robot is doing the drilling. You can see it's all with a foot pedal. And you can see that you can do. This is what we done. Oh, sorry. Back. Yes. This is what we do with this example. But now we're trying to work on the over-the-top model, and this is what we have achieved on the drilling. We're working on different stages. Of course, these are early results, but it's very promising. We are very excited about this. With respect to the cost effectiveness of this, of course, it's a very big issue because these devices are very expensive. And if we use them only for screws, maybe you cannot justify those. But certainly if you can do something else like osteotomies, planned laminectomies, and also for lifts and so on, this will be a make impact and will reduce surgical time. And also you could be able to improve your screw placement without any misplacements of those. And of course, if you compare with the soap, with €9 you can save a lot of lives without preventing infection. But how much can you justify to spend so much money on a device like this? I think patients are very, very demanding. They realize if they can one misplaced screw that can damage one of the nerve roots, I mean, is probably justification enough to buy one of these and to avoid this for many, many thousands of patients, particularly in the states where I said 1% of the population has undergone spine surgery, and this will probably be very cost-effective for those. We've done clinical trials already, and it's really very satisfactory. We have had no problems with any of the patients that we've used this. There's no mistakes or any problems to report back, which is also very exciting. And now, currently, it's difficult to get the CE market compared to the FDA, which was much difficult before. Now, CE market has become much more difficult to obtain, and we have managed to go through those. And FDA is pending approval, is nearly approved, but I think in the next couple of months, we'll have that approved also. And just to conclude, I want to say that robotic technology is advancing fast. The new application is obviously depending on the high accuracy that we can obtain. The laminectomy will be able to put drills down the tube and make the lateral or go to all sides, and we will be able to see this through the microscope light. And of course, augmented reality, which is there already very, very strongly, but more importantly, artificial intelligence will allow us to plan sagittal reconstruction. They will tell us which facets do we need to drill, what amount of drilling do we need to do. We are also working on what do you call these drills that we use for ultrasonic drills to use them with the robot too, which also will increment the safety for the patient. So it's all very exciting. We are very excited here, and I hope this will end up, because you never know until you put it on practice, how are the end results of these patients. Thank you so much.